Hey everyone, I'm Andrea Ferretti.
And I am Jason Crandall. Welcome to Yoga-ish. And before we get started in this week's conversation, just a quick reminder, if anyone is new to Yoga-ish, this is our very yoga-ish conversation. We're really focused about,
It's a more personal conversation.
I'm kind of talking about our lives.
Than technique focused.
Yeah.
Yoga Land is more technique and practice focused.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, I'm just going to jump in
Go for it.
because I feel like I need to let the world, my student base know. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to get Invisalign.
You're getting braces.
I'm getting
adult
braces.
Adult
I feel
braces.
like such a dork. I feel really vulnerable.
You really do. It's
I
really
really
interesting.
do. I really do.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's
Okay.
talk about why now.
Okay, so why now? Because I have broken a couple teeth. And every time I go to the dentist is like, dude,
Just
do you
do
grind your
Invisalign.
teeth?
Okay.
And I'm like, not that I know of. Long story short, I have a wonky bite, like a super wonky bite.
Most people do without braces.
Yeah, well,
One way
who
or
knew?
the other.
Yeah, so
Most people know, Jason. Just your family was very absent when it came to dental health.
yeah, my family wasn't really into following up with managing problems.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just ignored them until they went away, until they came out when I'm now 50.
Yeah.
And I have to feel like a child.
A dork.
And I understand, like, if this were you, I would not think that you were a dork.
No.
But for me, I feel super insecure about it. And I just want everyone to know the gap that currently you could like fly an airplane through is going to decrease, but we're going to keep it.
We want everybody to be ready for
I want
this.
everyone to know.
It's going to be, when you told me, I actually was a little sad,
Yeah.
genuinely.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's not going away completely because it would be too hard to push it all the way together, right?
Well, yeah. So the most efficient thing to do with correcting my bite is to do it in such a way where there's like a half gap. So the decision with regards to that, like my top teeth, are not mostly based on aesthetics, right? So the kind of bringing in of everything or the gathering in of everything to correct the bite is going to be, by nature, it's going to reduce the gap by half. I could reduce it 100%, but it wouldn't improve the like the functionality of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get rid of it completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So I am going to, I don't know. I guess,
aside from just feeling nerdy wearing Invisalign, which are basically invisible, what is it that feels so vulnerable
okay,
about it?
let's talk about the yoga teacher thing for a moment. Yoga teachers, we stand in front of people and talk like for hours and hours and hours. So I always have a certain amount of, I don't know if insecurity is the right word, because I feel like insecure. What's a lower amount of insecurity?
Like a lesser, just self-consciousness.
Yeah, like a little self-consciousness. Like when you have a very forward face, we're all a little insecure and we're all a little self-conscious, right? I mean, we are. But as a yoga teacher, we're in front of people and we're talking all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so the insecurity for me is just any change, right? Like any change makes me feel a little more vulnerable in that position.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Because I don't think, okay, let me put it another way. I don't think that I would feel insecure the way I feel insecure if I didn't have a job in which people
Where you had to
looked
see
at me
people all the
speaking
time.
all the time.
Okay.
I don't think most people will notice, right? But I will know.
And you can't take them off while you're recording?
You can, but there's a certain amount of hours you just have to have them in per day. So, okay, you know what? In the comments, only positive stories about your Invisalign.
Okay, yeah. Well, definitely no negative stories.
Oh, look at that. I mean, that's
It can't be worse than
it's dramatic.
yeah.
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 Well,
So
I wholly support you. I think it's a really good idea because, because you have been having some dental problems and it might stave off some of those issues in the long term. That's the
yeah,
most important thing is your health. We're having a friend do them who we trust implicitly. We're very happy about that.
yeah,
I don't know if they want to be outed on air, so we won't out them. But we know this person, so we know that he's trustworthy and
yes,
yeah,
yeah, totally.
good at his job, really
Yeah.
smart, really
Yeah,
good
he's
at
a
his job.
vet, but he says he can do good
A
human teeth
veterinarian
too.
usually works on horses.
Usually works on horses.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a pretty minor job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of horses,
Should we segue?
let's segue.
Yeah. So Sophia rides horses. Most people who listen know that. And there is this stage where girls go from riding a pony to a horse.
And boys who ride.
Sure, but we don't know any boys who ride, do
Fair
we?
enough.
Unfortunately, I wish boys did ride.
I just want to be inclusive.
But it's not masculine enough. So when you get to a certain height, you have to switch from a pony to a horse. Sophia's a tall girl. So she went from the most perfect pony last year who just knew his job and sailed over every jump for every girl for years and to a horse. And so we started leasing a horse last summer, and it's like a marriage, we learned. And sometimes the marriage just goes wrong. And that's kind of what happened without going into a lot of detail. So we've been trying new horses now for over a month. I mean, it's been kind of exhausting because there's like a whole build up. You've got to drive out to some random place in the middle of nowhere. And the kid is really nervous and the trainer's nervous and the parents are nervous and the expense is a lot. And we tried 5. We tried 5 horses.
Yeah.
And, one had too much of a spicy temperament. One we loved, but she didn't like because it was too fast. One was way too much horse for her. One horse was lame. And then finally
we find a horse, and he's lovely and wonderful.
He is lovely.
But I'm just going to say it. It's a little on the nose in terms of his nomenclature.
Yes.
And before we get like castigated for yoga appropriation.
Yes.
For
we
cultural
are not
appropriation,
responsible for this horse's name.
We are not. And literally we can't change it.
It is bad. Okay. So horses have a barn name, which is like their everyday name. And usually someone, actually his name was changed. Erica changed it to his current name.
Okay. Which we are going to reveal.
The barn name you can change, although we're going to keep it because it suits him so well. And I don't think it's quite as offensive somehow. The show name you cannot change because that is their show record, number 1. This horse is 18 years old. He has already built up his little show record for himself. And number 2, it's bad luck.
Yeah. And we don't own him.
No.
We should just say we're not like rocking through horses. We don't have like a big stable in the backyard. No. We lease him. So that's another thing is like we're not able to change that. Anyways, his barn name is
drum roll.
Buddha. Not Siddhartha.
Adorable.
Super adorable.
Buddha. And he is such a Buddha far.
So far. He's a good boy.
His show name, this is the name where Sophia's going to be on the horse. And if she does a show again, they're going to say, rider number 4172, Sophia Rose Crandall on Namaste.
That's
right.
His
name is Namaste.
His name is Namaste. But let's make it very clear. Namaste as a greeting. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like saying hello.
I do wonder why someone named him Namaste. Like, what
know.
Did they think it meant?
I think that it was, I think in all sincerity, I think that despite the complications of Namaste, I think people who named him Namaste named it in good faith.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
It wasn't like,
that's another
bad
thing is like
faith.
when that term is used.
And he is 18 years old. I mean, it was almost 20 years ago that he was named Namaste.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
And he's a really sweet guy.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Very sweet.
I'm going to put in some photos of Lamar. I don't have photos of Namaste yet, but for people watching the video episode
You'll put a little video of Lamar?
I don't think a little video, but I have a bunch of like really nice photos. So I'll just
Okay.
lay some in.
Sounds
So
good.
also everyone should know you can still, of course, listen to this podcast on the podcast
Wherever you get
platforms.
your podcasts.
But also you can watch them on Jason Crandall Yoga YouTube. And I would love for you to like and subscribe and do all of those things too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think those things are happening. Another thing this week is I have fully developed my pranayama training.
I'm very excited
I am
for you.
so
And I'm very
excited
excited
about
about
it.
the course.
Okay, there are a few things in my life that make me happiest. Being with you.
I love how whenever you give me a compliment, you get sort of embarrassed doing it publicly. So you use like a weird voice.
Yeah. Okay. So family stuff.
Yeah.
Like really. Being with family. I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
And professionally, developing courses. I love teaching them. Okay, there are many different phases of my job, and I genuinely enjoy all of those phases, which doesn't mean I want to do them every day of the week, right? Like I have my off days, I have my off weeks. Like I'm not going to pretend that teaching yoga isn't a job for me. But I really enjoy it, and I feel really grateful that I get to do it. But I think my favorite part is the development phase.
Yeah. It's like the ideation phase.
Yeah,
It's
the
so fun.
ideation. The ideation.
It's kind of like when you're planning a vacation, all the things, all the possibilities. It's so exciting.
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And then having to actually do the work.
And then you have to do it. And
Right.
it's like, but I think you're excited to do this work too, because it's a little different from what you've done the past few years.
Okay, so it's really geared for teachers that want to do two things. Number one, begin to incorporate pranayama, like short increments of pranayama in existing classes. And then also teachers that want to develop a 6 or an 8-week curriculum that is just a pranayama series. So I was kind of thinking a lot about the training that I did, the Art of Teaching Beginners. And in the Art of Teaching Beginners, there's a 4-week beginners syllabus and curriculum. And so I wanted to have that component. So if at your studio or if online you wanted to do a breathwork or a pranayama series, this is what it would contain, right? And so it's educational, of course, but it's also directly applicable in that the people that take the course can like incorporate it, right? And so for me, kind of like what you're saying with a trip itinerary, one of the things to me that I love about course development is the process clarifies my interests and values.
Right.
Right? Because they really help me figure out what I think is really important, right? And I understand that there's always a little bit of subjectivity when it comes to content in a class or in a training, right? So I just own that there's a little bit of subjectivity to my values and preferences, but I'm really excited about it. And I think one of the things I'm excited about it is helping provide teachers with a robust education in the science of breath and breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and making it accessible for people, because it's complicated to the degree that most of us skip it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that I can help teachers really understand some of this stuff, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, it also just seems like it's crossed over really well into Western study. So it's like, I don't know. For me, I would say out of all of the different components of training I've had over the years in the yoga tradition, the pranayama has been the weakest from my teachers. Like Richard Rosen was so amazing, but he's the only one that
Yeah.
truly loved pranayama and like had the gift. And I didn't take enough classes from him. By the time he was teaching at Yoga Journal, I was pretty checked out. So what I was always taught was Mr. Iyengar says you're not allowed to do pranayama until you're super, super, super advanced. So I was kind of always like, all right, then I'm just gonna,
I have a Ramanan story about this, but go ahead.
And I think you know, a James Nestor's book came out, and it's been more rigorously studied in the Western ways as well. So now we have this like beautiful um just integration of the wisdom from the tradition, and then some of the modern science supporting the wisdom that was always there, which is always kind of exciting for me.
A couple of quick things. One is pranayama is profoundly efficacious because it goes straight to the nervous system,
Hmm.
which is why certain traditions, including the Iyengar tradition, are very conservative in how and when they teach it,
Hmm.
right? So I completely respect and understand it, and is the way I was trained, right? But I think that when we understand simple science-backed techniques and we understand durations that are accessible and techniques that are accessible to a large population, we can start to integrate simple pranayama techniques really simply and easily into classes, into our personal lives.
Hmm.
And we don't we don't have to go overboard. We don't have to start doing some like complicated Surya Bedana breathing technique for an hour and a half,
Hmm.
right? Where we can actually incorporate simple things. I think the other thing is just like mobility has become a body of work unto its own, in yoga practitioners and yoga teachers are well served to try to understand mobility and some of the techniques that kind of functional trainers use, and incorporate the techniques that are reasonable and still fit within mm, like a sensible application in the yoga tradition. Breathwork is now really popular,
Hmm.
and there's a ton of people that are doing breath work that aren't practicing yoga,
Hmm.
right? And so I think now is a very good time because I think that there's so much global interest,
Hmm.
probably more so than in the last decade, to be honest. I think now is the time to, as teachers, just kind of wrap our head around it and figure out what are sensible techniques and integrations. And so I'm happy to just be developing it. I'll say one more thing about it. I'm looking forward to creating and filming a training where I don't have to work hard.
Oh, because it's not asana.
Yes.
Hmm.
Like this is something okay, we're 7 weeks into my current 200-hour teacher training program. And in this 200-hour teacher training program, I am having everyone teach a lot, like a lot more than I have in the past. And it's going super well. But one of the main things so many of the teachers are talking about is how difficult it is for them to breathe when they're teaching their students, especially if they're practicing and demonstrating.
Mm.
And this is something that, anyone that teaches online, especially anyone that was during COVID doing a bunch of Zoom classes, figured out how difficult it is to breathe and teach a 60-minute flow, right? While actually doing the practice and teaching along. Like it's just
Right.
a lot.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of excited to,
Just take it easy a little bit.
yeah, not have to work up a sweat while I'm teaching my classes.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Um, you did a Sunday thing today.
I did. I did. I got to so we've talked about the writers group that I am a part of now. And so was our second meeting today. And it was so nice. Oh my gosh, it was so nice. It has made me realize the last few weeks I've realized this is because I just moved right from college to San Francisco and lived there for our whole adulthood. There was always this sense for me, like it's such a transient place. I mean, you go through these phases of friends moving away. There's like the friends you have the first 3 years, and then those friends like go back to the Midwest and move home. And then there's the friends who make it like 10 years through like your early 30s. And some of them get married and start having kids and moving away. And then there's the friends that stay through having kids. Like we were those people. and you start to meet them on the playground with your kids. And then some of them move away when the kids go to kindergarten. And then there's the people who stay through kindergarten. And you're just like every year wondering like, is it my turn next? Like whose number's up next? And at every like parent event or every playground or everything, someone's talking about moving and someone's talking about how much they can't stand like the cost of living or whatever about San Francisco.
That was always the main issue.
The cost of living.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's dawned on me that some of the friends I'm making here, like, might be friends for a very long time. That people don't move away as much here.
Right.
So, for example, my friend Lisa said her mother-in-law just went to a retirement community in Michigan, and I said, "How is she adjusting?" She said, "Well, she went with a bunch of friends." And I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, we might end up in one of those places with a bunch of friends." Like it's just been so. Anyway, these I'm so happy to have met these women in this group. They're just so great, and I think I've mentioned before. Everybody's writing different things, and there are two women writing plays, and one of them has written plays for a long time. So she's already got like her actors, and she's going to do a full reading on Zoom soon, and it was really, really interesting to talk to her about that process. And then another woman is writing a thriller. And we learned today that it's based on a situation in her life. I mean, I'm not even saying who she is, but I don't even want to reveal, but it's based on a situation in her life where someone she knows married someone with narcissistic personality disorder. And this man has basically over like years, like 10 years, has like, she's like not on her own mortgage anymore. And she's not on her own. And it's like this whole nightmare. So she's telling us the story and we're all going like, oh my God, whoa, wow. And we're like, someone's like, I have so-and-so's a narcissist in my family and so-and-so's a narcissist in my family. We're all just talking about how gripping this plot is. So
it is a whole current genre as well.
Well, the interesting thing is that's what she said. She said, I'm really worried because this is kind of an in thing, but this like happened to someone in her life who she's very close to. So she's not doing it because it's cool. It's like, it's a gripping story for her. So she said that Lisa Jewell is about to come and she's like so bummed out about it.
Well, here's the thing. It's like cookbooks.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's how you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, if it's something that you really care about and that you're passionate about,
yours.
You can't worry that it's already been done.
Right.
Because to some degree, everything has already been done. Like if
we all kind of said that to her.
We all do, right? Like as a yoga teacher, I can't be like, oh man, people have told in their yoga class, their students to do down dog and, externally rotate the arms. I can't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
You really can't. Like if it's genuine and yours,
yes.
I can understand that feeling of wanting to be completely unique and differentiated in a way that feels good.
Well, she just knows that she's not Lisa Jewell yet. So it's going to be a lot harder to sell to an agent.
Yeah. I've read a lot of Lisa Jewell books in my day.
Yeah.
And I don't know who this person is yet, but hopefully sometime.
She has 2 kids under the age of 5 and she writes 1,000 words a day. So she is devoted to this project.
That's a lot.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring. So little old me went to the meeting and said, did my morning pages, been doing my morning pages, but I don't have a project yet. And over the course of 2.5 hours of listening to these people and like talking to them, and a lot of us didn't have projects, but some really did. And then we set up our meeting time. So this writers group is going until June, and then we will reassess if we want to keep going. So it kind of gives us like a finite amount of time. We're supposed to meet once a month, but we all wanted to make sure we could all be there. So it's actually going to be like every 3 weeks until June. So we're going to do it so that we each get 2 rounds of reviews. So like 4 people will go one time, then the next 4, then we'll go back to the first 4, and then we have 4 more meetings. So to read we're going to read our pages. So I need to have some pages. So I kind of need to decide on a project, and I'm really excited. And I think, I've always thought about in the way back of my head, it's always been like, yeah, I have a book in me somewhere. Like, yeah, I can write a book. But I've never like wanted to actually land on anything because I don't want to have to work hard and then do what it takes to publish a book, to be quite honest. So, but if I have a book club and I'm just reading pages, like that actually is enough for me right now. So I'm thinking about I'm thinking about starting some kind of book project. I'm also thinking about, I've had so many ideas over the years for like opinion pieces or pieces about neurodiversity that I would pitch, that I would write in more of a reporterly way for like New York Times or something like that. Like so for example, girls are, you know, highly underdiagnosed. And so there's whole generation of women like hello me who probably would have gotten certain diagnoses when we were kids. And so we went through like certain traumas and certain, you know, I had depression in my 20s. I have panic disorder. Like I have a lot of the signs of potentially being an autistic girl or an autistic woman. Never would have been detected. And so this idea that like, you know, there's a lot of rhetoric right now, especially in the political space, that like everybody's autistic now and it's all from vaccines. And those of us who identify as neurodivergent, like vehemently disagree with that because we all actually feel like we were missed and underdiagnosed. So I'm like very interested in that topic. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, okay. So before you landed on that possible topic,
Mm-hmm.
what was coming to my mind is, would you want it to be more memoirs-y? Not memoirs like I grew up in Allentown.
No, no,
The diary
essays,
of a
possibly. So, I mean, you know, this is part of the problem is when I see these women, I talk to these women in this group, it's like, wow, I've really always out of fear limited myself to what I even allow myself to write.
I will say, yeah, I think you limit yourself in a lot of ways, not just with regards to writing, but what we've talked about in terms of you teaching things
I
and
know.
presenting things.
I know.
And right.
I know. So it's this nice opportunity. I mean, I do but like putting the neurodiversity nonfiction, more journalist idea aside for a moment, when I think about a book, it's like very hazy. But I always think about like putting into maybe essays, like some of the emotional uh mental and emotional shifts that honestly like meditation has created for
Yeah.
me. And then maybe some practices,
Yeah.
you know, but I always have such a hard time. I mean, I'm getting closer, but I have a very hard time encapsulating things into separate pieces.
So, okay, I feel like I have brought this up to you probably since we started dating. There is this book, and I forget the author's name, but it's a book about chocolate called Bittersweet. And there are probably many other cookbooks like this, but it is a chocolate cookbook. It is called Bittersweet. And essentially every chapter is a reflection on some element of this author's life,
Mm-hmm.
and then a recipe that goes with it.
So that's actually Laura's project, right?
Right.
Like,
So my guess is this is very common.
Yeah.
But this book's almost 20 years old, if
Mhm.
not more.
Mhm.
And it was groundbreaking in that way. And I've always thought about doing something kind of similar when it comes to yoga, like a sequencing book, or something that wasn't like, obviously I teach a ton of sequencing, and I teach it from the perspective I teach it, but it's not like I remember this one day when I was having a lot of sadness and blah blah blah, and so I did back bends. But I've always wanted to brainstorm the idea of a meditation pranayama practice based book that was personal and reflective and driven by, yeah, just almost a more biographical,
Mhm. Yeah.
almost like a more biographical presentation. So I think something like that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I don't know if I have enough to say, but I'm willing to start. And
Well,
that's a big,
once you get going, don't you think?
I think so. But,
Yeah.
I'm very, what's interesting is like,
Don't put the pressure.
no, but part of it is not just pressure on myself. Part of it is that I am the pickiest reader in the world. I'm an editor. So I am very picky about what I think is writing that's worth my time. So I'm actually a pretty succinct writer because I don't like things that go on and on. It's just like not my thing. So it's an interesting, there was a woman today who is writing poetry, and she was going up, she was talking for like 30 minutes about how worried she was about her poem, and she thought it was cringy and all those things. And I looked at her and I said, will you please read it? And none of us had read anything today.
We're like, oh, that's so gross.
And she like almost started to cry as she read it. And she read it and it was so beautiful. It was about like her daughter falling asleep on her chest, right?
Yeah.
We're all moms like sitting there and we're all like, oh my God, Melina, that was so amazing. And then I was like, maybe I should write poetry because I am.
But that's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not poetry necessarily, but like if during the teacher reset, one of the things that we were talking about a lot, and I've thought about this a lot, is having hobbies. Like when there are a lot of time for many people, there are long phases of life where you got no space to have a hobby, like nothing.
Yeah.
Time is difficult. You're under more economic stress.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things. But if you are fortunate enough to arrive at a place
Yeah.
where, yeah, you're still doing what you do and life still has demands, but you have a little more range within you to cultivate other intellectual, emotional, creative pursuits, take those pursuits.
Right.
They're really, they're really valuable things to have. And so maybe for you, something that you would never publish, or,
Right.
Something for you that's completely, I don't want to say outside of your comfort zone, right? Because that sounds a little cheesy,
outside of
but
the genre. Yeah. Like yeah, no, I
yeah,
agree. Like being in this group has been like, oh, so many people have so many interesting ideas. It's so fun to think
yeah,
about it.
it might actually, and it might keep it more like doodling,
Yeah.
right? Because you are very driven
Yeah.
and you're also a perfectionist. So here's what I think. I think unless you have a book in you that needs to come out about your primary interests and profession, I don't think that should be your focus. I think you should think, is there something that is just like a total creative intellectual hobby?
Well,
Write one of those, write one of the like steamy
romances.
romances.
I wish I could.
Oh, give it a go.
No, I'm really not great at fictional character development. It's just like, I think I would actually need to take a class.
You're too literal.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would know what to do.
Yeah. Anyway.
But that's never stopped me before.
What I want to say is I have 2 sessions where I'm going to get to read things and have feedback. So I actually kind of want to, yeah, it just gives me some shape. It's a good thing.
You're right. You write, you have really nice prose. You're a really good writer.
I think that I am a very honest writer. I think I do a good job of expressing what is true to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good.
Yeah. But wait, let me talk about my other hobby, which I'm really shockingly good at, is my trivia night.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to 2. I'm like an MVP. I came home, I said to Sophia, I said, I don't mean to brag, but I'm really good at trivia. And she was like, okay, Mom. I am shockingly good at it. It's so weird. So, yeah, I mean, it just is so weird. Can I just talk about like the one thing that I got correct?
The one thing you're an MVP and you got one thing correct.
I'm saying like the really surprising thing that nobody else thought of that I was immediately. Okay, so the question was, and I know we have a lot of listeners from down under, from Australia, New Zealand. So they're probably going to know it. But as an American.
Does New Zealand count as down under? Was that a
Maybe
global
not.
gaffe?
Well, I thought it was, it's the down under.
Down under.
What?
No, I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry if I insulted anyone. Okay, the question was, what dance pop star is an ARIA recognized recording artist, which American, we don't know what that is, who is like the highest selling recording artist of all time in Australia? Kylie Minogue. Kylie Minogue. Where did that come from? I have no idea.
What's a Kylie Minogue song?
I don't know.
You seriously?
I mean, she sang a cover called Locomotion, which is I don't even want to put it in your head. It's like an earworm. You'll never get it out. But I don't know her music. How did I know that?
There goes the thumb downs.
On the video? What did I know?
Our channel average is bam.
Anyway, when in doubt about your talents in the world, go to a trivia night. You'll feel better.
No, it makes me feel like a dummy. I'm really bad at trivia. Which is super weird because I
even get hockey ones right. I got the Sharks when they said, who has the teal outfit?
Yeah, that was because it was about the fit.
You think I'm going to know anything about hockey?
That's true.
I know 2 hockey teams. Detroit,
the Red Wings.
Red Wings?
Yeah.
And the Sharks.
So one of the things we usually do in our episode is to talk with each other about what we are watching.
Mm-hmm.
And let me kind of just set the stage. Every night you come over and you get into bed.
Yeah.
And when you get into bed, who else gets into bed?
Ginger gets into bed.
And so we set a pillow on.
Yeah.
And she gets right in between us.
Yeah. She has to get right. She has to be like, she'll like wait and look at us for like looking at the pillow.
Because she doesn't know if it's time or not time. Well, but
she really likes for things to be exactly the same every night.
Same.
Yeah.
And we've been in the habit pretty much, Andrea, since we started dating, at least since we started living together, of watching a show or two in the evening, right? Yeah. And for me, like I have always loved entertainment and I've loved comedy and drama and I love narrative and story, right? There's a lot of things that I appreciate other than the Yoga Sutra attributed to Patanjali, right? And so you came up with the idea.
The one we're watching right now?
Yeah. So we're watching
Hacks.
And so we watch it and Ginger gets in between us and that's our show.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about it.
And I kept saying like, let's watch Hacks. Let's watch Hacks. And I didn't know anything about it either. The only thing I knew was that anytime I turned on an award show, so Nighttime Emmys, Golden Globes, I feel like there was one more, Hacks kept winning. Jean Smart kept getting up and going up to the podium. And I know Jean Smart from Designing Women in the 80s, from forever ago. And it was just so amazing to see a woman in her 70s get up and winning like all these awards. So I thought, this must be a damn good show. And to your credit, you've trusted me.
Yes.
And you love it.
You know when I started trusting you? I started trusting you when I realized. So I thought for whatever reason, because I'm just an idiot.
Thought it was about
and
like
I'm
hackers
judgmental.
Or something?
No. No, I didn't know what it was about, but I thought it was a network show. I thought it was like a network sitcom.
Kept saying that. You kept saying, I don't want to watch a network show. And I was just like, it's not a network
show. I'm such a like coastal elite. It's sick. It's ridiculous. For a Midwestern, like a middle class Midwestern guy, sure I'm a coastal elite when it comes to my taste. But yeah, I was just like, I don't want to just watch some random sitcom.
And I thought it was so funny that you thought I would want to. But anyway,
you are much more forgiving when it comes to comedy.
It wasn't anyway. Okay.
Anyway, right. So when I saw that it was on Bougie Max, right, I was like, oh, okay.
Just thought it was funny that you would think it would win a Golden Globe, being like a remake of Matlock. Like, what did you think? I said Golden Globes.
I
Emmys.
guarantee. Okay, we're gonna get into. Okay, anyways, so I thought it was when we first started watching it, I thought it was gonna be like a funny show.
Yeah,
it's not a funny show.
No, it's a complex show. It's like its own genre. It's great. It's a great show.
Yeah.
I want to say, I just want to give you like props, which, maybe that anyway, it's really female characters.
I like female characters.
I know you do, but I just feel like so often, like, men think of shows that star women as like women's shows or like a girl show. Oh,
And men
you'll
are-
like
it's so
that
weird.
show. I know, it's so
Yeah.
weird. And you're not like that. So it's Jean Smart playing a Las Vegas longtime comedian. She's like the queen of Vegas. She's basically like the woman version of Wayne Newton. it
Oh, yeah,
seems.
she is.
You know, she's like the queen of Las Vegas. She's a very complex character with a very complex history. And she has a young woman who's been assigned to her to kind of punch up her act. And this young woman is like basically failing in Hollywood. So she's been sent out to Vegas. So these two women are stuck together and they are both just really flawed characters. So really like rich characters. And yeah, wow. The when she was saying when what's the younger one's name? Hannah Einbinder. I can only think of her actor name.
I only know her by, yeah.
Yeah. When she's like, I'll have a matcha latte with almond milk, like at a rest stop or something. I mean, they're just so perfectly,
And Dee from It's Always Sunny. What's her real name?
Oh, Caitlin Olsen.
Yeah.
She's great.
Amazing.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's perfect. She tumbles her own rocks.
She tumbles her own rocks.
She
Yeah. Okay. So let me, I want to say something to you and to our loving audience anyone that's still listening.
Yeah.
If something is done well, I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
Pretty much across the board. Like pretty much with anything, if something is like executed skillfully, if there's like good craft, let me put this, let me take what I said back. If something is done well, I will appreciate it.
Yeah.
I won't always enjoy it. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that I know are done well that I
Mhm.
just am not into at all.
Mhm.
But television that's done well to me and acting that's done well, like Jean Smart, I didn't watch Designing Women.
Mhm.
Because probably in the 80s I would not have
I've watched an all female. What,
watched
you
an
didn't want to
all-female
watch a bunch
cast.
of women in their 30s in the South?
Then
in
I
a
did
design
not.
house?
Then
That's
I did
shocking.
not.
That's
No.
shocking.
But now that sounds like a great concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's amazing. Like she really runs that. And
She's incredible.
Yeah, that and the production quality and the writing. And there's something that I like, which is like characters that have layers,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah. She has story. Like her character is just unraveling and yeah, that's what I mean. She's a really complex character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same with Hannah Einbinder. I mean, she's also got some layers.
She does have layers. She has a little, I don't always love her character.
I don't love her either, but
I
that's
don't
kind
always
of
love
why
her affect. She's kind of a little annoying.
she's kind of annoying.
But I think that is part of her character.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
She plays Gen Z or whatever generation she would be, but she plays it very well.
Now, before we wrap up, I'm going to give you props
Oh,
because you appreciated my willingness to watch a female cast
yeah.
with layers and nuance and depth.
Yes.
I'm going to appreciate your willingness to also watch the opposite of that, which are mostly male leads
Yes.
that are really vapid and stupid, like The League,
Oh yeah.
which you loved with
I love
me.
dirtbag humor.
Yeah,
I love dirtbag
Okay, put it that
humor.
way. Yeah.
I love like
It's Always Sunny.
It's Always Sunny, The League. What about Office? Not The Office, but
The Office isn't
working.
dirtbag.
What are they called?
Oh yeah, Workaholics. I cannot-
Workaholics.
Yeah, anyone that's still on, anyone
Biggest
that's actually
dirtbags.
still listening to this, Andrea Ferretti. Okay, anyone that's actually still listening to this, you're a super listener, and we love you. We've gotten rid of everyone else. They're long gone by now.
Yeah.
Andrea Ferretti has watched every episode of Workaholics with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a podcast that I listened to for a while.
Yeah, I don't even listen to the podcast.
I don't listen to it anymore, but I did for a while. And I would go into the coffee shop and talk to the barista, Eric, about it. Because he's the one who told me about that. We'd be like, oh my God. No, those guys are geniuses.
They're really funny.
I'm just blown away by comedians. Also, we have a new kind of sort of
Detroiters.
Dirtbag comedy. They're
not
not
quite
as dirtbag
dirtbaggy,
though. They're
no.
quite sweet and earnest.
Very earnest.
Oh, I love them.
Very, very earnest.
This is very niche. That show is very niche. So if anyone out there has watched that show and likes it, you're like.
But I think it's more like my willingness. I feel like I should be watching Designing Women with you right now.
You could.
I would consider it.
We'll have to go find it.
If it's not too dated.
It's going to be very dated. Their hair is like 80s, like poof.
I mean more like dated in the
production. I mean, it's going to be everything is going to be very dated.
Yeah, it's going to be dated.
Well, we could try.
Yep. So now the 3 people that are still with us.
Tell us what you think about the Detroiters.
No, tell us what you think about
Hacks.
Or that Andrea, not just me, has watched I'm going to tell everyone, I've probably watched every episode of Workaholics a minimum of 2 times.
I would love to watch it again. We should watch it again.
It gets harder to watch.
As the older you get?
Yeah. Oh, no, just the more times you've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But there are some, it's a
pretty special one. Did we miss any dirtbag comedies? There's a question.
Okay.
No, I really meant for the listeners.
Oh, yeah.
We can wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Jason.
All right, Andrea, Jason, and now the 2 other people that are still associating with us in any way.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being part of it.